Well, two massively contrasting semi-finals at the Rugby World Cup, and the bottom line is it's the All Blacks against the Springboks in the big dance next Saturday here in Paris. Let's talk about the two games. Jeff, firstly, the All Blacks, they did enough. Were they convincing to you?
Well, 40-point win in a semi-final, that's more than enough, Nisbett. I think ultimately they had to go out and win the game. Look, was it as impressive the week before? No, but the opposition wasn't as impressive either. And look, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, they were clinical, they were accurate once again, they put enough pressure on in key parts of the field. Their scrum was really good. I mean, I look at all of the aspects of the game. I think they lost one line-out, Mills. So ultimately, this was about getting a result, getting through it with a comfortable win. They've got that now. Now they can focus on the task at hand.
Yeah, they put them away pretty early, which is always sort of the key when you're going up against an Argentinian side that hasn't played that well throughout the whole tournament, and that's the key thing. That's what the Bulldogs sort of wanted. Make sure, just before the break they scored. They came back out again after the break and scored once again, and comfortable winners. So I think they'll be feeling pretty good leading into this final. There's no injuries. I mean, it's the main thing. There's no yellow cards or red cards, in fact. So I think they'll be fairly confident.
Do you think they've timed their run perfectly here? I mean, they lost the opening game, obviously, but they seem to have built really well into this tournament.
Well, everyone's known it's going to be a long tournament. We're going to be coming into our 8th week, and they've been on tour for a long time. I remember playing that game in Twickenham as well, so almost coming on 3 months in terms of preparation for this Rugby World Cup as a group. But in terms of timing their run, I think timing their selections, getting guys back in health at the right time when they took on Italy is built nicely to where they are right now. And like you talk about, no injuries coming out of this. And I think it's a clear picture of who the guys are in form. They're probably going to have to leave a couple of guys out of this squad, the 23 for Rugby World Cup final, who are playing really well. Probably Lester Whanganuku's going to find it tough to get another opportunity, and Cam Roygaard's probably not going to see time again. So when you look at it and you look about timing your run, everything leads towards being at the top of their game at the right time of the tournament. You'd have to say they've done it right.
Yeah, I agree. I think when they look back at it in terms of timing, how they've sort of got the guys to the stages that they're at, there's real excitement within the team. They've been away for 8-9 odd weeks, but they just seem, because they've sort of not rotated, they've sort of had a couple of guys that sort of changed, 9 changes after the first game again against Italy. They just seem really, really fresh. They worked really hard in Bordeaux. The planning towards getting to this stage looks really good, and that's why I think they look really comfortable. There's real excitement within the team. There's no big injuries, and there's no sort of judicial issue either. So I think they're feeling pretty good.
Do you think the selection thinking might change because now they know it's the Springboks?
No, because I think the All Blacks have always been about how they want to play the game, and clearly they want to try and play with tempo. The one thing we don't know right now, clearly, is are going to be the conditions next weekend, and things might change over the course of the week, and that's where maybe the Springboks have got a different challenge, because it's a significant difference for them when Handré Pollard played last night. But the All Blacks probably know who their guys are and how they'll want to play, and I don't think they'll be a team that will want to go away from that, Mills. The things that have been successful, how we can put the opposition under enough pressure. And when Jacques Nienaber comes out and says we're going to need to score 30 points to win a Rugby World Cup, I think that's the mindset they'll be in, the Springboks as well as the All Blacks.
Well, they weren't as tidy as what they would have wanted to be last night. Line-outs didn't function. Obviously the conditions, but they came back to what they know best, and that was their scrum. So set piece, for the Springboks is going to be massive. Their line-outs, obviously, but also the personnel, because they took Lebok off fairly early. Who are they going to play there? Who's going to play at halfback? Because when those guys came on, Fluff de Klerk and also Pollard, they seemed to sort of just have that sort of comfiness in terms of, hey, we're okay. We're just going to kick the ball. Let's sit back, rely on our big boys to get into the game. So I think they're going to be thinking about how they're going to play the All Blacks and whether they go to that style again.
Well, Nisbett, and that's the difference here, right? The Springboks, through the course of this tournament, you talk about building and timing your run, they've done it right as well. Yeah. But that was a remarkable performance, really, considering for 68 minutes it looked as though they weren't going to make it through. They showed the qualities of a champion side. They know how to win, and the fact they can look at their group, there's so many players who have been there before. I'll be fascinated to see their approach going into the game, and I think selection is going to be a key part of that for them.
Exactly the point I was going to make. Same question, different team. Do you think they'll change their selection because it's the All Blacks?
No, I don't think so. They'll look at their performance against them at Twickenham Mills, and they'll go, you know what, there's a formula about putting the All Blacks under pressure. But the difference is this is a different All Blacks team from that game. And it's a matter of how you're going to play the All Blacks, and can you beat them at their own game? You're probably not going to get that. The remarkable thing for me is we sort of tend to forget we've got a lot of guys who have tasted success at a World Cup as well in the All Black side. And this is why I think it makes this test match a game for the ages, because like, you've got two teams you mentioned who have been on the rise, who understand how they want to play, have actually got some adaptability, so they'll be able to on the day of the game maybe change the way they do play. But I can't see their selections being significantly different when you go into a big game like this.
I don't know. I mean, taking Lebok off early might be a go. I mean, when you look at the All Blacks, when you look at the Twickenham game, you want to frustrate the All Blacks, get them into a slow game. So does Pollard come back into play? That's what you want to do. Do you want to match the All Blacks at the own game? I don't think they will, because then they'll remember sort of what the All Blacks did to them back in Auckland earlier on this year. So I think there might be selection change, and I think Pollard sort of comes. I like Lebok. I think he brings us something totally different. But I think just with the way that they want to play the All Blacks and frustrate them into making mistakes, that's the sort of style that you want to go to. The kicking game, the long kick game, frustrate them, sort of strangle them down the other end and force the All Blacks to sort of get uncomfortable and make errors and then collect 3 points.
So there you are. We're down to 2. World Cup final this weekend. The All Blacks against the Springboks.